Christian.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing
Long time
great.
no see.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes ago. No, I'm just kidding. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you so much. How about yourself? You excited?
I'm so excited. I think we've covered a lot of ground this time, and people are going to be really happy to see it.
I,
Welcome,
I
everyone.
hope so. Welcome, welcome.
So please say hello in the chat. We want to know where you're coming from. Let us know in the chat, which is over there someplace. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Uh, we thank you for being here. This is the only sort of housekeeping that we're going to have. The chat is for you. This is where you can let us know if you have questions. There's also a Q&A panel where you can ask questions if it's specifically a question, or if you want to talk amongst yourselves or ask a link. We have other people here like Martin and Brenda who will if you have like gear questions or stuff, they'll post your links or reply to those questions. So,
Or
uh,
Red Sox questions if you want to ask Brenda. I mean, I'm sure she's still high on life after last night's game, huh?
right? Oh, sports ball. I'm sorry, I'm unaware of what happens with sports ball.
No, then you must not be friends with Gabriel Peterman
I am
because
good friends with Gabe, and I know
you
that
should have heard him shouting from the rooftops yesterday.
he loves sports ball. I don't.
Hallo, willkommen nach Deutschland.
Hi. So this is our macro challenge. We're calling it number 4. It could be number 5. Who's counting anyway? Uh, this time around, Christian and I issued a challenge to each other to get as creative with lighting as we could. And there was a subtext too. And Christian thought about what we would shoot. And this is a surprise that we're letting you guys onto now. What were we taking photographs of, Christian? Or should we leave it as a secret?
Let's leave it a secret for a minute.
Oh, let's
Let's
do
leave it
that.
for a secret. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Oh, let's keep
So
those cards close to the chest for just a moment, just a
yeah.
bare moment.
So this is actually one of my favorite topics in the world. I love teaching. You guys, I love teaching. I love sharing. I love exploring the creativity part. But lighting has got to be one of the most fun subjects in photography because without it, you don't have a picture.
You know,
Done badly, you don't really have a good photograph. You just have an image, right? But done well, you have something that stops somebody and they look at it and they feel something. So So I think that like honestly, I'm gonna call it now, and you guys let me know at the end of this. I think Christian won. I think Christian nailed it. He did such a good job on this. I can't wait to show you his pictures.
Aw,
But the whole point of this was to make sure that we could push ourselves to do more creative things with lighting for macro, and that's why we're here.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we
So
both won, and I'll tell you the reason why I say we both won because I like to share the winnings a little bit, but also, you know a lot more about lighting than I do, and maybe it's a lifetime challenge to continuously learn, right?
yeah.
But I didn't take the at first when I first started these challenges with you, I didn't really put it through my head. The big lighting for humans and stuff is kind of the same. Clearly, can be smaller, but for macro, and I don't know. I've been learning a heck of a lot, and it's made me want a lot more lights in my life.
Isn't
You
that
could say this
crazy?
challenge was illuminating, but I wouldn't dare say something cheesy like that. But maybe it was.
I'm gonna give him
Maybe.
a tease. This is a
Thank
real
you.
quick
I do
tease.
it. Do it. Do it.
Yep. So this is uh this is
Oh,
just where we're going to start, and we're going to talk a little bit more about stuff, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a teaser here. Like this is where we're going to go first. And if you could guess what that is, let us know in the chat.
if you guess, you can have what was in that photo.
But Christian's shipping it. Yeah.
Tax and
So,
tariffs may apply. What?
yeah, the other thing that I loved is that and you guys will see throughout this process, literally anything that makes light can be used. So you can be fancy, you can be not fancy. So, okay, so this resume screen. Okay, so
There
sharing.
it is. All right.
It's
Can one
you
see?
guys said they're not seeing one. Okay.
But what? I got a no photo in the listing here. James says no. Brenda said no.
That's fun.
Com- Computer says yes. I can see mine.
Okay. So let's try it again. Thank you.
So that's it. That's what you win. You win
You
nothing.
win
Oh,
nothing. Great. All right, so Let's see if
There
okay,
you go. They
good.
got it
Got it
now.
now.
Woohoo.
Whew,
All
all
right.
right. So that makes me happy. So
Yeah,
now it's there. You guys, that has to work. That's the whole
yeah,
basis of this presentation.
that's
Okay, good.
it.
All right. So if you can guess, then Christian will ship you one. So I'm just gonna take a moment here.
Yeah.
Fish scales. Interesting.
No, that's
I'm gonna
pretty good.
while this image is up, which I think is a remarkable image, just to kick it off. I want to talk about a couple of things. There are three kinds of light, and I'm gonna pull the image off for a second. There's three kinds of light. There's direct light that's coming from the image from the light source to the subject, with nothing interrupting in between. It's just from the light to the source. There's diffused light, which is a light source that goes through some sort of material and it gets scattered and it goes in lots of directions. Instead of being linear, it comes from multiple directions. That is diffused light. And then there's reflected light, which is bounces off of something, picks up whatever color is on that surface and perhaps texture characteristics and comes back at the subject. So those are three kinds of light that you need to think about when you're lighting, and they all achieve different things. There's also the relationship of the size of the light source to the subject. That's when something becomes soft or hard. You can take a flashlight and put it right next to a grain of rice, and it's a soft light because it's gigantic compared to the rice. But if you put it 10 feet away, it becomes much smaller. It becomes a point source. A point source creates very sharp shadows. A soft light has wrapping shadows with a long transition. And we'll show you some pictures of this. And there's some other things that we'll talk about as we get through this, but the lighting is really important because lighting should define the subject. It should tell you about its texture. It should tell you about its shape and its color. So think about it in terms of lighting, like what does this light do? And it should provide context. Where is this happening? So you need to have enough light to say this is where it is. And then it's got to direct the focus of the viewer, right? Lighting is going to say the brightest thing is what your eye is naturally attracted to, so that it's going to see it first. And then the things that are darker, your eyes will gradually move around and look at. But just keep that in mind. The brightest thing is what they look at first. And it also says emotion. Like lighting can be very emotional. It can be
Hmm.
technical. You like, I illuminated the subject, you can see everything. It can be as simple as that. Or with shadow, you could say this is the dark part, this is the light part. So it's really important to think about these things in both the technical and emotional sense. And overall, every time you set up one light, ask yourself this one question: what is the purpose of this light? What's it supposed to do? And that will guide you through the rest of your decisions. So,
That's a good
Christian,
point. Yes, sir.
when you started taking pictures,
Hmm.
you told me about you had a particular challenge with your location. What was that, and how did you overcome it?
So I like to joke that my apartment seems to be uh, built on the foundation of Jello, because literally every vehicle that goes past my window, or anybody closing the door or walking around the floor above or below me, jiggles the apartment. And I didn't know this for the 4 years I've been living here, until I put on, macro bellows and the lens, a centimeter away from the subject, and realized, oh my God, bump, 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 jiggle. I'm like, are you kidding me? So my challenge was I needed more light than I had anticipated. I really was wanting to play with light painting on a small scale, right? And that was in my head as we were talking about this whole challenge. Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to. No, I won't. No, I'm not, because I couldn't get a fast enough shutter speed to counteract most of that blur. A couple times I was able to boost it fast
Right.
enough, but yeah, that was my challenge. Was long exposures were almost out. I had to keep everything 60th or faster, which means sometimes I didn't get the depth of field I wanted for an aperture, change,
Right.
or I had to force the light issue
Right.
by bringing in strobes,
Okay.
which we'll get into later. But yeah, so
All right. Let's kick off. And
all right.
I saw a couple of answers out there. It's a flower part, kind of tissue, and fish scales.
Yeah, yeah.
Christian, what is this?
D, none of the above. This is a slice of a red onion.
Ba, ba,
Nothing more
ba.
than that. Bum, bum, bum. And
Wow,
you can, yeah, you can dang there see the cellular structure.
that's
And
amazing.
that cellophane looking stuff up there is just well, you can actually see where my light source was coming in, right? That
Right?
was above and behind the subject just a little bit, shining rather bright there, and less so down at the curve at the bottom there.
How'd you light it?
That is a single light, and I believe that is a single strobe from a cool little. Are we going to do show and tell now or later when we talk
We could
about
do show and
gear?
tell.
Okay.
There's the next slide doesn't have the show and tell, but if you want to show something on screen, let's do that.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
it's one of these, and it belongs to a kit from a company called Bolt. Am I out of focus here? Let me see if I can. Come on, camera. Don't film me now. There it is. So this is just a removable flash head that normally goes on one of these little ring lights, and there's a controller on the camera over here. I can show you later. And I hardly ever use the actual ring, but a lot of people who are doing hand holding flowers and things like that would be able to mount several of these. So I could actually do 3, 4, 5, 6 if you have them, or I can pop them off and move them around. And so this is a really fantastic macro light that I've been lucky to play with for a while. It's the VM1010S as in Sierra. I think the S stands for Sony. I'm not sure, but yeah, the VM1010, and that is a single one of those heads. Pop in that onion.
Beautiful. Was this a thin slice of onion, or you just cut the onion?
I had just cut the onion. Yeah, so
Amazing.
no lights coming through from behind or anything.
Okay, so it's all reflected light. There's nothing coming
It's all
through.
reflected.
That's cool.
And only mildly diffused by the little plastic cap that is supplied with these.
Well done. Single light source. There it is. It doesn't have to be complicated, right? Let's go to the next one.
All right.
Guesses. All right.
Guesses.
We know there's a 30-second delay here, so we want to know if you guys think you know what this is. I didn't guess.
James wants to know if they're prizes. Yeah, if you guess it, I'll send you what's in the picture. That's how it works. You can get an onion. You can get a.
So, Christian, how did you light this one?
This one is a very simple 2-light setup using the same Bolt VM 1010 series, one on either side.
Mhm.
And I think I had them just well. You can actually see how the light's coming through with the shadows. I think the one on the left side. I don't think they were equal temperament. I think one was off just a little bit. I didn't take notes on this one. I'm sorry, but it's only 2 lights, 2 flash
That's
units.
We got some right answers. Richard
Woo!
was first to get it. Richard said pepper.
Outstanding. It is
So did
indeed a
Charles
peppercorn, or a couple of
and
them.
Romney and Haru and Sharon. That's
No, I
awesome.
would not photograph poop. I don't care how interesting it might be, James. Prunes, maybe. Yes, peppercorn is the correct answer.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
This is
I
great.
would. No, that was fun.
I had no idea the peppercorns were so textured. I thought they
To
were
be
just
honest, I didn't
completely
either. I
spherical.
just every time, would you like pepper with that? I just assumed they're round. I had no idea. Look how
Right.
beautiful the structures are. I want to get closer. I'm not gonna lie. I do want to get closer in there, but for now, I think that's pretty close up.
Oh man. So we had a question. What lens and magnification did you use on this?
That one was the Laowa 1.5 to 5x. There is that a 24 millimeter or 18? Oh boy, I can't remember the magnification now.
We'll
I'll
get
find
back
that
to
out.
that, Greg.
All right. Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
it's the one that has that range. So,
But this is a classic split right left where you have a more powerful flash on the right with the proper exposure, one that's a stop or two less on the left, right?
I
Beautiful.
like my shadows, and a lot of my stuff I tend to gravitate towards the shadows, maybe to the detriment of some of my images, but that's my look I like.
Nice. It's fantastic. It's
Thank you.
fantastic. Oh, and there you go. This is one of your setup shots, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's one of the setup shots there. Now, this is I had a different lens on there than the one that made the final shot. This is a combo. That's a Canon 100 millimeter lens on the Sony camera with an adapter, Metabones adapter, of course, mounted on the Novoflex CASTEL-MINI.
Yep.
And you see the 2 lights. I end up using the second light is not in frame there, and then I kind of made it more even and changed the settings. By the way, that that light kit, you can do all the settings right from the commander on top of your camera, and you can set these things around wherever you want, really. And that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. I just pop them off and move them around, stick them on top of the the barrel of the lens. And by the way, also on this particular one, I have a Nisi magnifier on top of the Canon 100mm, but I wanted closer, so
Wow.
I had to go
So
with the low.
you put the wider angle lens on more extension. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Oh, this one. This one is a great one. This is one of my favorite pictures that you shot. I
Thank you.
defy anyone to say what this is. I think we're seeing a trend so far. I don't want to give it away.
I know, right?
We're seeing a trend, but this one, why don't you describe the lighting scenario for me?
And someone asked if the peppercorn was single shot or stacked. I was stacked.
Oh, right. Yep. Oh, Richard.
Wow, Richard, game on.
I think Richard's getting a lot of produce sent to him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is indeed a thin slice of a purple carrot.
That's so beautiful.
And
On a
that is
mandolin, right?
yes, yeah, right after I slice my thumb.
Nope.
Yeah, be careful, kids, when you're messing with the mandolin. By the way, that is a single flash unit behind it. I basically just put the carrot flush up against that. This was actually upside down. Carrot was up against that, and pop, just blast it right through there.
It's amazing. And there's one that's even closer.
Yeah. I think that was also with that Laowa that I had to give back. Oh, sad.
So was at this point you're using which lens?
This one's the Laowa 5. This one, I don't remember.
Okay.
It might have been a standard macro. I had 5 or so different macro lenses at one time I was borrowing. That's a beautiful thing about working where I work.
Yeah.
The unbeautiful thing is I have to give them back because people want their gear back. I actually think the full round one might have been a Voigtlander 105, I think.
Right.
That's a nice lens.
Right. It didn't come through in the
meta.
data. That's too bad. Those are gorgeous, man.
Thanks.
And again, the power of a single light source. Strong subject, excellent composition. Sometimes you only need one light, folks. Just
That's
one.
it.
Yep. And now this one. Tell me about your lighting scheme on this one. Well, people can let us know in the comments if they know what this is.
I believe this was one light source. You can see the little highlight there in the right at the lower middle. So it's coming from the left as in the frame there. And I had a little bit of a like a white piece of paper or something just trying to fill in. But the trick for me was to exactly. Someone just said sugar. It's brown sugar.
Nice.
And it's on a spoon. That's what you're seeing, the rim there. That's a spoon.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it's a well-worn spoon apparently. And
met a lot of teeth.
Yeah, I did. Exactly. Spoonful of sugar. And that's definitely stacked. That was a lot of shots. And I kind of grew weary because it was about 40 something, 50 shots, I forget. And I wasn't even a third of the way through the frame. Like, yeah, we'll let the rest fall off. But because it was a metal bowl, essentially, right? The light just bounced inside there and just created this big glowing.
I like that you got tired because I think it's important that it gets soft back there. If this whole thing was in focus, it would be really hard to look at.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
Nice bokeh, bro.
Thanks. Steven, bro. Bokeh.
Nice bokeh. All right. Now
okay.
Well, you talk about your lighting experiments. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of show the different aspects of lighting and how I was learning along. I mean, I know the theory behind a lot of these things, but in practice, especially in something a little bit smaller. Yep, exactly. Cinnamon. This is cinnamon stick, and I thought I really want to show the texture and I want to show how it's curled in. So this is a shot. I believe we took this one first. This is the very flat. I mean, it's an okay image. It's not bad, but it's just kind of meh. And I wanted more. I wanted that that crevice down in the middle there to have a deeper shadow, and I wanted more texture. So I started for fresh. That's right. I lose. So far, you have some peppercorn, a chunk of onion, and the cinnamon. You're gonna make an amazing meal with this stuff. So this is single light, and this is again going back to the flash units. Single light to the left, and I don't remember if I believe this was full power. Boom, and you can see how the shadows were really falling,
Right.
and I'm like, okay,
And
cool.
you're at
Getting,
F22. Yeah. Wow.
yeah, that was
Yep.
F22 as well. But that's, of course, it's too dark. So then I took another flash unit and brought it from below, but I reduced it by, I think, half. I do have the notes written now if it's really important, but you get the point. And I played with this stuff. It's not like I just like, I'm going to do it half. It's done. I mean, I went up and down and kind of visualized that maybe if I had a miniature light meter, I could put in there, but I didn't. So, it's hard to get those microscopic incident meters. So that's one from right below, one from the side, full power, one below, probably half or so. And then I took another one up top there. Now, if you go back one, Matt.
Yep. There it is.
You can't see a lot of change going on. So I'm changing the output just a little bit. Okay, go forward.
Next.
Yep. It's getting a little more. I can see in this. There you go. So then I changed everything, opened it up just a little bit more. But I really wanted. There's one more, right? I think there's one more image. I say I like it, but it's like now it's too bright, and I really wanted more like this. So I changed it up even more so, and still kept it. The bottom now left is the brightest, the key light, if you will.
Yep.
I almost forgot about the top part. I wanted it to kind of curve to the back and fade out a little bit. I probably could have worked with this all day and just I love the way, like right now you can't really even tell that crevice is I want it to look like a canyon almost,
Right.
So I would work this probably a different way again, but you can see just by subtle changes, and that's 3 light sources now. It's how it changes. I think this is the 100mm Canon. Yep, there you go, with the Nisi adapter on there. Exactly right.
Yep. That's great.
And that just gave me a little extra excuse me, magnification.
It's good to see your grip set up here too.
Yeah,
Isn't that
the DIY
the best part
grip.
of every macro photographer's life? Like, how do I support all this stuff?
Yeah, paper clips and extra bits and bobs, and I don't throw anything away that could clamp or thread into a 1/4-20 socket or something. And yeah, and of course everything's on the Novoflex CASTEL-MINI. I tried with the Bellows as well, and it was too close for the effect I was looking for, But I think it might be a really fun thing to get back in there with the Bellows on there, and just, I mean, this mountain of a cinnamon roll would be pretty phenomenal.
I do love the texture as the shadow rolls off to the top. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's that raking the light over the surface. If you remember the last time you're at a sunset, right? We love those long shadows. Well, same meat, closer gravy.
Yep. So it looks like you played with having the diffuser on, the diffuser off on the flashes.
Nope. Those
You
are
left
all,
the diffuser on the whole time?
Yep. Diffusers were on the whole time, but the output was changed quite a bit. So I was rolling the output.
Yep. Nice. Okay, here's our next guesser.
That one's easy.
Did you say cheesy?
Cheesy.
So you tried 2 different lighting scenarios on this one.
Yeah, and this was also mostly just to kind of show the difference of flat on, straight, almost boring. Yep, on the cracker there, and then just a little bit off to the left there, and you see that what really, it does make a big difference, especially on that little chunk of salt right there on the lower left.
Oh, it's everything.
Right now it stands out. It has more depth to it, and I think it looks buttery, more buttery.
It does.
There you go. And even though I have a perfectly functional ring where I can put all my lights on, I could also just balance it on the tip of my lens because, why not? Anyway, but there
It's
you go.
just a
You can
cracker.
see.
If the cracker goes down, there's more soldiers, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's
part of
really
the
awesome.
problem is I like moving stuff around a lot,
Yeah.
and rather than just being fixed into a thing. But anyway, my buddy
Yeah.
Josh will not approve of me not using the ring. I guarantee it.
Well, I just want to jump in for a second. You're
Yeah, man.
absolutely right. When you're working on one of these scenes, if you rig something, you should rig it when you're done finding its position. You're going to be moving your lights all over the scene until
Hmm.
you find just that right shadow,
Yep.
and then you're like, okay, I'm going to lock this down, or maybe I'll just let it stand it on top of my lens.
Right. Right. Yep. Yep. And someone asked, why not use light, assuming steady light instead of flash?
Oh yeah,
Excuse me 1 second there. And sorry.
that's
Um,
that's a great question. I think
yeah.
it's because of
And
the Jello floors.
yeah, that's a big part of it. And in this case, I was just in the groove using
Yeah,
Flash, and I've been able to borrow this kit, and I really want to get the most out of it and learn more about it. And I'm kind of falling in love with Flash photography.
yeah,
I used to say to people, and a lot of us use this excuse, oh, I'm a natural light, existing light photographer, and certain reps that I know have a comeback for that, and it just means I'm not a well-rounded photographer. So I want to become a more well-rounded photographer. So, and in this case, I just wanted more output
yeah.
because
Flash can be mysterious because you
mhm,
can't see it like you can see a continuous light. And I
yeah,
totally understand when somebody feels trepidation saying, how do I control something that I can't see? It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
yeah. And someone asked, what kit is this called? And this is a bolt, and this is the VM 1000 series. And they have them for different TTLs. It's a TTL flash, so it just connects right to my Sony with the commander. Um,
I just pasted it in. So
oh, there you go. Perfect, perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, good.
So you wanted to show it? Okay.
Well, I can
Okay.
because I'm good that way.
Yeah. It's
We are
it
modular, if nothing else.
yeah. It's a matter of like, yeah, Flash has always kind of been king for a lot of reasons for macro.
Hmm.
Because you need to stop down a lot, and
There
to
it is.
achieve enough light at 11 or 16 or sometimes 22, Flash can help with that.
Yep.
And other light sources might not be able to do that, especially when you have a massive Bellows extension. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Gonna need that light.
yeah. All right, we have our next contender. Who
Nice.
knows what this is? My wife figured it out immediately.
Yeah, well,
And it's
she's
it's
pretty
not a
smart.
challenge to the viewers. I'm just saying I was delighted when my wife was like, I know what that is. Yeah.
That's it. That one's
Boom, a
easy.
kiwi.
Look at that.
Nice. And this is the thing that Christian pointed out to me when we were looking at it. It's so beautiful to see the shape of the seeds
Hmm.
and the light that's coming through. And can I guess how
Yeah,
you lit this one?
go for it.
Only one light behind, or did you put light on the front?
Nope, only one light behind. I tried light on the front
So
as well,
cool.
and it did not do well because it's a very liquidy surface, right? Kiwi's got
Oh,
all sorts of juice in there. And it's yeah,
so
right.
beautiful.
This, by the way, I really want to explore these a little bit more because it looks like a little nebula inside, something in
So
between these
beautiful.
seeds and the little
Yeah.
dimples on the seed. I'm like, oh, I could stay there all day.
It's
So
the
yeah.
galaxy in a fruit.
It really is. I mean, just how amazing is the world of food, the
Yeah.
world in general, but the world of food, huh? Oh, wait, we gave
The
away our
Kiwi
secret.
marketing cartel, call me. We can talk.
That's right. Hmm.
So we have a background on this one. Let's see. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So you had a challenge getting other light in there too.
Yes, yeah, there should be a shot coming up here. So here I utilize a Kaiser copy stand because I really wanted it straight down onto the subject. And I have a glass box that I put in a one of these. Big old Luxley 5-inch. This is their Viola series, and I can get very bright and I can change colors, but I can also maintain just daylight balance. So that's underneath, and then I've taped off a portion of the area just so there's not as much spill. And
Right.
yeah, it just, it's
There's no
just
room.
about rubbing kiwi on that rear element. Notice that is a reversed
Yep. A
yeah.
reverse G Master lens,
yeah,
right?
the reverse G Master. I think that was a 24. I
Mhm.
think. Yeah.
Nice. And there's
There you
how
go.
little room you have to add additional lighting. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
I tried to get a flash in there, and it just wasn't going to happen.
It
It's
worked
not
out
gonna,
good.
yeah, it worked
It,
out good. I
it worked out
like the way
great.
it
I
looked.
mean, look at this picture. You don't need anything. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
The Kaiser stand really helped out keeping that flat. There's no way I would have been able to do it nicely.
Mhm.
Although, you know what, standing up, I did see someone, one of these YouTubers, and they stuck a slice of kiwi on their window and shot it outdoor, like facing the sun outdoors.
Oh,
I'm like, that's pretty clever. I
that
didn't
is
want to clean my
clever.
window, so I'm going to go use that box.
I'm going to set up this other thing instead. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, like having a
Hard to get the copy stand up on the window. I'm just saying. What?
having a copy stand is really helpful when you want to be perpendicular to your subject.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
hard otherwise. I have an example about how I achieve perpendicularity later. Oh, I said that word. It's very
Yeah,
complicated.
well played. Oh,
Yeah.
that's like a Scrabble point for you.
A bonus points. I didn't even know how to play Scrabble, but I think I just won.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's our next challenger on the
Ooh.
Guess This.
I think this one's gonna be too easy.
Whoever says mycelium wins. If you know which kind this is, then
Yeah.
then you are a fungi
Yep. Or gal.
or gal. Yeah. That was a really bad pun. Tell me about your lighting scenario.
So this is another. I want to get more depth out of it. This was I tried a couple different things. I actually tried a steady light. I tried flash, and I tried 2 steady lights, including one by one Westcott, an old flexible light. Actually, as props go, it looks like this, right? And these are really neat because you can actually bend them around. You can kind of manipulate it just a little bit, or you can just use them in the softbox and put over it. But this was about half an inch above the mushrooms and aimed off at the side there. And it was becoming flat. It's cool. I mean, like I like the little bubbles, the little marshmallow looking egg things.
Yep.
But I wanted more. I wanted that separation because that one, there it is. And that one overturned or upside down cap there, it was just floating. And that's how I saw it, kind of, in my eye. I saw it more of a float. And the other one, the previous shot, it just looks like part of the bunch, right? But with the light coming in, breaking over the surface there, coming in real low, it really provided that depth of the shadows on the other side, right? You can see the curvature of the heads of the mushrooms, and it separated that little overturned cap there from the other ones behind it. So
beautiful. Did you end up eating these?
Not yet. Yeah,
Okay.
they're in my fridge. Yeah, I need to, or they're gonna get evil on me.
Nice. And you pulled out the Zeiss for this one, huh?
I did. So that is a 50 millimeter. And it worked pretty well on the Bellows. It's not my favorite to attempt. It's not a macro. But with the Bellows, you get in there, everything's a macro with the Bellows.
Right. Yeah.
Frankly.
That was a question we had earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah, that makes it real easy. And of course, with the electronic extension there with the retro adapter, it allows me to maintain all my aperture and everything I want. No autofocus, ever. In macro, it's just, it hunts too often, but you could if you had a mind to.
Yeah, no.
I'll tell you where that does come in play, by the way. So I use 2 different camera systems, mostly the Sony, but I also have a Fuji, which is my web camera right now. And Fuji has a neat auto stacking feature built in. I think some other cameras, Nikon may, and Canon, I don't know. Sony, Sony, for whatever reason, has yet to implement this, which is, come on, Sony. But with that retro adapter allowing the pass-through electronics, even with my lens reversed, I'm able to stack. And so I can take 50 or so shots and just let it make the movements itself. So it was a nice workaround on some of those shots, but that mushroom, no.
Before you cook those mushrooms, Robert wants to see you take a picture of it after it's been in the fridge for a week. So
Yeah,
you've got homework.
I bet it'll be interesting. All right.
Now this next one blew me away, folks. I want to see if anyone can figure this one out, because I had to have Christian explain it to me. I think I got part of it, but I'm not sure. And you know what? While they're figuring that out, Barry said, "Which Fuji model are you using?"
Oh, the XT3. And I believe it's standard on the 2, 3, and 4 now, that software.
Right. And I know in the Nikon Z series, my 6 and my 6.2 have the ability to do focus stacking with autofocus native Nikon lenses.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So we have, I think we have one correct answer so far, right?
That's right.
Two,
well,
1.5.
Ice crystals with Mars in the background is one of the better answers, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I think that's what you're going for, right?
Yeah, that is kind of what I'm going for. Exactly. So
Nice.
when we first started talking about this, my mind went crazy. Oh, good. The R6 can do stacking as well.
Nice.
Yeah. My mind went crazy of what I could do. You know, I had light painting ideas and and essentially set building ideas. And I wanted a mountain of salt, and that is just it's a really cool brand of salt. They're hand batch kind of stuff, really big crystals. They're square, and actually it took a couple of just one crystal. It was phenomenal looking. I just don't even know how that grows in nature, but yeah, it's a pile of salt, and I have a little junky little light thing you can get off of Amazon or something. It's just, you can make it whatever color you want. This is, if you want a joke, that's supposed to be white, and you can't really tell because it's nice and bright. But if you look at that picture there, that is this dinger's white, and it's a purple and blue LED. Clearly, they're not expensive LEDs, but that's okay. I thought it lent itself. But I photographed that a couple times. I'm like, it's cool, but I want something else. I want a set. I want a landscape. And so I figured, well, it's cold in the front. It must be a sunset, right? So I need a sunset. So I went and made me a sun out of a lume cube. And right. And I thought it came out pretty well. Now you see there's a little rubber diffuser on there that's a CTO, right? Like basically an orange. And then I don't know if you can see this, if the camera's going to get sharp enough, it may not be able to focus. But on top and below, I decided I wanted more red than the orange. So I put an onion skin in between the gel and the light source.
That blew me away.
I want to keep in our theme with the food. And so that is a onion skin shot through with the CTO gel on the front, lume cube. I'm like, it just needs a little more. So I wanted to make some clouds. And so that's the only non-food item, I guess, in the scene. And those were essentially a couple of tissues crumpled up and another flashlight raking across the top there, out of focus, blur of color. And so now we have, you can see the lights poking through the salt there for sure.
Yep. And you can see you added a light painting brushes universal connector to the end of your flashlight as a snoot.
Yes.
I recognize that from my night photography.
I actually tried to do a shot with the light painting, with the fiber optic stuff to make a starry night, but I'm gonna need a bigger amount of time and setup.
Genius.
There you go.
So good. And we have one more that just for the win. What are the two elements in this scene? I mean, some people might guess, but
you guess it right away.
I was hungry also.
There you go.
I was hungry, and I had just made Indian food. Oh,
there you go.
Oh,
you gave it away. Yeah, that's Matt.
Matt.
Exactly. That's
Thank
right.
you.
That's
Thank
Matt
you.
having to sit there on a large slice of naan. And
I do have a pair of overalls that look like that.
yeah.
How did you know?
And I figured, this little feller needed a tree in this barren landscape nearby. So I found some cilantro root from some
Amazing.
cilantro, of course I had. And now the trick with this one, and I really wanted to do although it works fine with a blurred background, but I kind of wanted to mess with the depth of field a little bit more, have more of the tree in focus. And what was happening is it was wilting just ever so slow, and my stacking was not going to happen. So this is really it's one light source from the left top, kind of like where the sun would be, and I may have a reflector on the other side. I think I do, but I think it's only a single light source.
And this is what I mean when I say lighting emotionally, right? This one, like, there's all sorts of fancy things you could have done. What you did was you made sure that the most important subject and the things that relate to that subject were properly illuminated, and you nailed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. And for those of you, I didn't see it, nobody said it. This is naan,
Yeah,
Indian
non-bread.
bread, naan bread.
Hmm.
Delicious, delicious. Christian,
Yes, sir.
I don't even want to show my pictures. You won, man.
Yeah,
You
come
did such a
on.
great job.
Thank you.
You did such a
I
great job.
appreciate that.
I
Well,
I, I love how you had a problem that you discovered and you overcame it by saying, you know what, I'm just going to stick to Flash because my apartment building's built on Jello.
yeah.
So that's an appropriate response, like, and it's affordable and it's repeatable, and like, hats off to you, man. Great work.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I, on the other hand, am
Brenda
crazy
says,
about gear. I'm
you see,
crazy about gear, obviously, and I like to have as many options on hand. So I started off with, I tried to be as simple as possible. This is a one light picture, and I'm not sure anybody's going to guess what this is. So I'm just gonna say it. This is a piece of coconut oil that's in its solid form, and what I wanted to do with this one was I wanted to show the power of one light, and it was on a pin. So I said, "This is one light. It's describing the entire shape of the object." And I was really inspired by Don Komarechka, so I pulled out a flashlight and I just put a flashlight on it, and it looks really great. I
yeah,
wanted more background information, so I set up a light with a diffuser behind it. So it became, instead of something floating in space, something floating in a better lit space.
yeah.
So that one, I thought for just a two light setup, I introduced chroma, but I kept all of the other features that I really liked on it. I could work a little bit more on the post processing, but I think I got everything else that I wanted out of this image. Um, and my setup was, like, pretty simple. I just had my flashlight on an arm, and it was pointing down about 45 degrees. So that's pretty simple. Um, and there's the other diffused light, the Luxley fiddle, behind it over there, so you guys can see how I set it up. And to set this up, I just took a paint stick and I drove a pin through the bottom of the paint stick, and I wrapped gaff tape around it so that I could shoot off of that and it wouldn't reflect any light. And then I could put anything I wanted on that pin. Um,
Nice.
so so that's, do I have a setup of that one? That one was called, no, I don't. Okay, good. So then the next thing that we're going to look at is, and this one I might ask people to guess, and I'm going to talk about, what I did to set it up. This one, I only discovered that it had this little white part after rotating it around on the pin. It was originally facing away from me, and as I rotated around, I'm like, oh, how can I make more of that happen? And with this one, I had a lot more lights, and I'll play the video, and I'm pretty sure that some people can guess what it is. And let's see what we got here. This is just me setting up. So I started out by putting some lights above it and to the side, and I worked through a couple of scenarios here. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted, so I tried a lot of different things. I wanted you guys to see that, like, this trial and error on this, but I finally ended up with one main light, and that's the flashlight. And then for the rim light on the right hand side, I had a diffuse light, which is the Pavotube 26C, this Nan light here. And then I have a Photox M1000R, which is a giant panel light. Because it's so gigantic, it creates this beautiful red, this huge, beautiful red specular highlight along this other edge. And this is a black bean, a single black bean. And then I had another flashlight coming up from the bottom here to create this extra. It was a little bit too dark. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 light sources. And here's something I learned. Lensed flashlights that have a lens on them, when you get to the edge of the flashlight, because I was feathering the light, the chroma separates, and as the camera moves, you start to see different colors as the lens's angle to the subject changes. So I didn't like what was happening here, so I ended up just saying I wanted to make some adjustments to this, and let's see if I can do that here. Color noise reduction just sort of got rid of that, but I would just not use the flashlight at the edge of the lens again in the future, because it ended up creating too many different colors in there. But that's something that I really enjoyed doing.
Go back to your photo.
Back to my photo. Oh, thank you. I'm looking in one side and I'm on the other side. So cameras, screen, here we go. All right. So anyway, so I'll go back. Yeah. There we go. Sorry. Thanks, Christian. So on the left-hand side, here's the big red light that was that Photox panel. On the right-hand side, there's the tube light, which makes a nice strip defining the far edge of the bean. This right here, this big spot on the top right, is a single flashlight. And then this bottom part down here is where I saw that other flashlight breaking up into chroma. So that's a single black bean, and that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So we're winning. Nice, man.
Woo.
This one kind of shocked me. If you know what kind of object this is, I'm going to give you a fat hint. Let me know if you know which flavor it is.
Ooh.
We'll see who wins this one, and then I can, yeah. So this one is yeah. This one was fun because not only is it tasty, but it was also a fun one to see happen in front of my eyes, because I shot it at 3 different magnifications. So I started out up really close like this, and you could see me experimenting with different angles to light this. And what I wanted to do was to draw out the texture on the surface of this, because I was surprised at how much texture the surface had. And once I landed on this lighting schema, which again was a flashlight and a tube on the left-hand side at a high angle of incidence to come along the left, scraping the left side. And then I added a Kaiser Slim light Plano behind it as the background and an edge light, which worked really well. So those all worked out together. And then I just made this sequence of images. And then I backed off a little bit with a little less magnification, and I took another sequence. And then I switched lenses again, and I switched to an enlarging lens that I had instead, which instead of 100 millimeters is a lot. I forget what it is, probably 80 millimeters. And I shot a full screen one. So we'll take a look at this.
You have some good guesses, by the way, buddy.
We do?
We have, Ray said no one's caught it yet, though. We have bacon, marmalade, honey, brown sugar, a date.
Okay, a date. Okay, so this is an almond that's wasabi soy flavored. And the shocking part to me was that this almond that's wasabi soy, apparently the binder that they use is sugar to get that flavor onto it. And I thought that it didn't have a lot of sugar in it. And then I looked at the package again. I'm like, oh, it's the third ingredient. So I took these 3 different images of it, and this one, I love it. You can see a lot of sugar on it, right?
Yeah.
And then you can see very clearly, like right over here, this giant crystal just sticking up off the edge.
Love it.
And that worked out pretty good. And then, of course, they have the one floating in space where I used Photoshop to get rid of the pin that was stuck in the bottom of it. And this one turned out pretty good. So that was a lot of fun learning how to light
delicious.
this one. Thank you. And I paid close attention to lighting this side right here to make sure that this light didn't obliterate the shadow. And that's a really important thing when you're thinking about lighting for macro, is that you need to create shadows or else it's going to be featureless. Right? So that's that. So just some more BTS so you guys can see it. You can go
Uh-oh.
back if you want to zoom in a little bit more. And you
We
can
lost you
see
there for a second.
you lost me?
I lost you. I don't know if anyone else did.
Okay. Sorry. I think I'm still good. You guys let me know
Yeah,
in the comments if you still got me.
yeah,
So
make sure
yeah.
it's just me.
Okay. So this is the enlarging lens that I used on there. And yeah, there's a lot of background. And then we have the next one. Oh, it stopped, it said. All right. So let's see. Let's see.
Yeah.
They all lost me. We're switching out for a second. We need the 30-second banter. So Christian, how we doing so far?
I think we're doing amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Except for this
We-
maybe they lost me thing. I mean, you can see me and
Yeah,
hear
I
me.
mean,
Yeah.
well, that's half of it, but
Okay. So William asked me, how do I deal with lint and dust on my subject? Oh
oof.
boy. The bane of my existence ever since I started working in a dark room. It's you keep as clean an area as you can. You try and you have a humidifier in the room that can reduce the amount of
Yeah.
static electricity, right? Or shoot when it's humid. Have a have some canned air around, Windex. Don't use paper towels. Use like
No.
lint-free cloths. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do. So
Or you
yeah.
put your bellows unit to work and photograph the dust.
Yeah. And you know what? Dust happen.
No,
No.
you move in closer and
Oh, right,
photograph the
right.
dust.
You photograph the dust. Um, it's terrible. And you know what? Especially when you're making your stacks, if you
Yeah.
don't get rid of the dust prior to getting the stacks, you get those radial lines that are just freaking annoying.
Remember in the coin challenge when I had that one
Oh gosh,
hair or
yes.
the little tiny duster? It's just you
Yeah.
gotta live with it. This one threw me for a loop, dude, and no one's gonna guess this. I'm
No one's
sorry.
gonna get it. No
No.
one's gonna get it. This one, I'll just tell you straight out what this is, and you still won't believe me. This is the edge of a Hershey's chocolate bar. Want me to prove it? I will prove it. I'll just show you guys how I set it up. So this one I had a lot of fun. I said, how can I make this Hershey's bar look cool? So I pulled out just some chroma. So I was, I think I have the wrong one here. Oh no, I'm showing the wrong video.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's
Side Hershey's.
the same
There we go.
idea though.
It's the same idea, but I'm giving
Oh,
away
there it
the
is.
next one. It's
Oh,
coming. Here we go. So
dang
here
it.
we go. So this one, I wanted to use something a little bit more graphic. So I said I'm going to combine chroma to get the different edges to show up as different colors, even though this is brown, which is essentially kind of neutral, right? So as I was working through this, I would just keep moving the lights around until I had something that I liked. Now, I might stop for a moment and talk about my setup. My setup is excessive, but I'll tell you how I decided to get to this setup. Um, I don't use the LCD on the back of the camera for this because it's not big enough for me to see. So I add a 5-inch monitor on top, and I turn on focus peaking on the monitor on top, so I see the red squiggles. And then I have that lead out to my BenQ 27-inch display, so I'm watching the big display when I'm doing my focus stacking. And that's the one that I use to make sure that I get everything I need and for better composition. So, uh, yes, I'm a little bit crazy, but I found that for my tired eyes, that just using my computer monitor helps a lot. And you can go straight from your camera to a computer monitor for the price of an HDMI cable.
Yep.
So it's not that much of an expense if you have a computer monitor. You can use it to assist in making these. So yeah, this is when I just started making the pictures, and I really liked it. I thought that this was fun and graphic, and we ended up having some fun with this. So again, some sugar. I guess I was feeling hungry the whole time, so some sugar got in there. And for once, I didn't shoot through the whole scene. I left the left edge soft on purpose.
Yeah. This is one of my favorites, dude. When I first saw that, I'm like a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie. Like that's a really good idea, and to get some extra texture on something that would be otherwise very smooth. So
That's when I was shooting the edge of it. I'm like, gosh, I didn't know the Hershey's bars were so smooth. It's crazy. And I stuck the pin through a triple of the Hershey bar, and I could have shot the part that was undamaged, but I thought this was so interesting that I was like, I'm going to make that middle part go a little red, and I did, and that was a lot of fun. And this is a good stack, and these are all stacks, by the way. you know. And in the end, where did the bar go? The bar went into my talking hole. It's delicious. I mean, at this point, except for the black bean, I got to eat everything. So macro is not good for my diet. All right. So this one, yeah, how did I light it? I stuck an Light 5C off to the side, which is a nice little nan light. And I stuck Pavo Tube 26C off to the other side, which is a diffused source. And then, you know, so the one on the right has the red color, the one on the left has the neutral color. And then up top, I have a large circular light panel, which I use sometimes for product photography and sometimes for video lighting, but that's the Nuwata R42. And we'll give you guys all good questions, all links to all these products if you're curious when we send out the follow-up email. But that one ended up being a great primary source, even though it was a couple feet above. And it helped me to create those beautiful, the beautiful highlights along the bottom, which is the top of the bar. This next one is for Jay Jeffries. Jay, are you here? I need to know.
Better be.
I get the question, what am I going to do a macro stack that's also a pano? And that's what this is. This is a 4-panel macro stacked pano. And so I got up really close to this tiny bar of Hershey's chocolate, and we got to do that. So I have the proof, obviously.
Yeah.
I like shooting the BTS, so I just want you guys to see how it's done. So the lighting was very simple. You know, it was just 2 white lights, and this is me doing the stacks. And it was good to have 2, and I'll play it again. It's good to have 2 focusing rails, because then I could just shift it to the left and do the same stack, and shift it to the left and do the same stack. And then at the end, I realized I had gone far enough over to the right, so I shifted it back over and did the rough edge of the Hershey's. So that was fun.
That's cool.
I'm pretty proud of this because this is my first pano macro, and it's delicious.
It is delicious. It was delicious, I'm sure.
So that's good. So this one was just that top light, and then there's a new thing here. There's a reflector down here. I realized that I had these for a long time, and I've used them on and off, but I have this bin full of paper reflectors, and I was like, do these guys still make it? They're called Light Right reflectors. They still make these, and you can use one light, and you could set these up all over and have these angle all over your set, and they come different sizes, and they're just shiny, and they make these specular highlights. Excellent for little product photography. That's what I ended up using. So I had one light source plus a reflector to make this happen, and that made me really happy. So so that's the light above and the reflectors, just showing you guys that, and that worked out pretty good. I'm getting close to the end here, folks. This one, I want to know what kind of vegetable this is. And this is the second to last thing I have to show. So this is it's delicious. It's high in
nutritious.
Iron. Yeah, it's high in iron. But talking about the lighting, this is only backlit. And I use the Kaiser Slim Light Plano, which I actually have to, for those of you who haven't seen these, you've got to see it. I need to show it on camera. The Kaiser Slim Light Plano is this. It's a very thin internal battery, but you can also plug it in via USB. Thing that people normally copy slides on, but for macro work, this is incredible. So this is what I was using when I was shooting this piece of spinach. So,
and by the way, the slim lights they're very even illumination all the way edge to edge. So unlike the old school slide duplicators, which had a hot spot in the middle and the sides were lame, this is beautiful all the range.
Totally, and no color cast. There's no chroma problems. It is just it's close to a perfect light source as you could find. So it's great for this top down stuff.
Yeah.
So this, I first started by putting a piece of glass on top of it that compressed it down. I was like, maybe it'll be easier. I won't have to stack as much. And I found it, although interesting, not as exciting as it could be. So I took the piece of glass off, and you can see between the two of them, it just starts to take on more of a shape. That's nice. But if you saw this one and not the other, you'd still be like, boring. So I added another light on top. So I wanted to pull out some surface highlights, and this was along on the right-hand side, and then I just like this a lot better because it had translucence and reflected light on it, and I thought that that was a good idea. The problem was I didn't have a copy stand, so I had to level this out, and how I leveled it out was I I used the triple bubble level, but I took my TrioPod Pro 75 and I put two macro legs on it, two tabletop legs, and one of the regular legs on it, and sandbagged it.
I love it.
Right, and then so then I just put the bubble level on it until it got all squared up, and then it was perfectly square to that panel, and then I could start doing my extreme magnification macro work. And this was just really wonderful. Um, so this worked out pretty good. And this is the light that I put out to the side. It was that Luxley fiddle again. I took the diffuser off this time, and I just used a hard source. And I put a reflector on the other side. So it was pretty simple, but it ended up being nice and juicy and shiny. Yeah, and I still had, with a 100mm lens and all of that extension, I still only had that much room to get in there. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That one I hadn't tried to emulate, and there's the Kaiser panel, you know, showing up on that. Yeah, I got a little crazy with the BTS pictures. Okay. Last shot. Let's see who could guess what this is.
Ooh.
And I'm going to show the two pictures and I'm going to tell the story, and maybe this will help people guess. This second shot, I added water, and the first shot, I did not. This is also using that top-down shot, and I just really love using translucence as a problem, and I mean as a solution. And it was a pretty deep stack, because, and I'm going to reveal it now. This is pink Himalayan sea salt. It's the only kind of salt I use for cooking right now, you know. And this is and I was just really excited to see what it looked like up close. And the pure white that you see in here, the pure white is the Kaiser Slim Light Plano, and the rest of this is the salt, and it takes the light through. So when I did this, I was like, I want to see what happens when I wet it down. So after I got my first stack, I went and I grabbed a pipette and some water, and I watched it melt, and that was fun.
It's cool. You had a couple of good guesses there. Brown sugar, Martin's guess, but I like the ice left over from iced coffee from Greg.
Nice. So you could see from the video here how helpful it is to have a larger monitor at your eye level when you're doing this stuff. So again, I stress that if you want to get into this stuff and you have a computer monitor already, just pull it out, you know.
That's cool.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
And let's see, we got, yep, I used a flashlight on the side for my top lighting on this one. It wasn't just translucent, and a reflector card, and that was just, it was a lot of fun. So and there's the pipette. I walked into the dark room and got that stuff. That was a lot of fun. Wow. Woo. That was a lot of light, man.
Are you hungry?
I am hungry. I am hungry. I'm hungry to answer some questions. So let's see.
Right?
There's nothing in the Q&A. It's all in the chat. All right. So so the Kaiser Slim Light does not get warm. Nope. You can leave it plugged in and it gets brighter than if you used it on battery, which is nice for taking it into the field, by the way. The Kaiser Slim panel is just really, really super excellent. It never gets warm. It never gets hot enough to melt anything. I'll put it that way. Have I looked at my hairdo as created by the chairback? I mean, if I let my hair out, you know, I might be able to do something similar, but you know, I've got my COVID ponytail there. So let's see if there's any other good questions here or ones that didn't get.
Stephen just asked, what would be the best first macro lens and video to learn to do stacking?
Okay. I would say the best macro lens is probably a lens that you already own. if you can do one of two things. If you want to find out whether you like macro, you can start by spending very little and getting a couple of extension tubes, and then you'll start doing that. But what you absolutely need is a focusing rail. And we can drop some links in there on the Novoflex channel, Novoflex USA channel on YouTube. There's some good things about focusing rails and choosing the right one. To do stacking, you're going to want a focusing rail.
You're gonna have.
Yeah.
You need one. You don't just want. You will need one for sure. And it's good to have a good tool with you.
Yeah. You can't just use the lens. You can't just use the lens barrel. Period.
No.
It's never going to be accurate enough. The other thing you might consider is getting the Novoflex retro adapter and just taking one of your current kit zoom lenses and flipping it around the other way, which Christian and I both did during this presentation.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
It's a great way to get more magnification. So if you find out, if you want to skip getting extension tubes and go straight to this, go for it. If you want to find out if you like it, get your focusing rail first and get little extension tubes and see if you like that, and then go for more magnification. If you want to buy a macro lens, it depends on which camera you have. But consider this: the wider the macro lens, the more magnification you get. The longer the macro lens, the less magnification generally, but it's probably going to be a little bit sharper. And that's a broad generalization. But really in macro, you're using just the center of the lens. So, and you want a lens that's designed to be as flat a field as possible. Regular lenses have a curvature to them. So if you're trying to shoot something in focus stack, you might have a curved field that you're focus stacking, and you got to think about that. So macro lenses are really flat when it comes to their focus plane. And that's what you're buying when you buy a macro lens, is the sharpness and the flatness and less chromatic aberration. That's the separation of colors at contrast edges. So I'd say rent a macro lens and see if you love it. And then you'll know whether you want to purchase it or not. Great question. What else we got going on here? There was no winning or losing. I was sort of joking about that, but I still like Christian's pictures better. I don't need you guys to comment on that. I just got to say, I'm really, really impressed with what he did. That was Matt. A lot of fun, man.
That was a lot of fun. I was a little panicked at first. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, which I do all the time at any of these kind of challenges. I think that's my MO. And then it's like, oh, wait, what if I did this? What if I did that? And as Alan Shapiro says, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And when I started having fun, thanks, Martin. When I started having fun, that's when things started clicking together for sure.
Yep. Jeffrey asked me this: did you use the Nikon focus shift with the Z or the step motor? No, during all of these, I didn't use any autofocus techniques. The only time I used the internal focus mechanism, the stepping focus mechanism on the Nikon, is when I'm doing foreground stacks, when I'm doing astro landscape photography. That's what I do. But he might have been directing this question at you, Christian. Did you use the focus shift inside your camera body?
I tried a number of different methods. The Sony doesn't have it, and I shot primarily with the Sony, especially anything with the flash. That was all Sony. So the only thing I think I may have, I don't think any of the images that we have here were with the auto stack.
Okay. All right.
Everything was
okay.
So you got to have. By the way, that's another reason to not skimp on your rail, because you want it to be nice and smooth when you're doing your little micro adjustments, and also get the handle. I think Martin put the link in there as well.
Right.
Because when you have a big old heavy rig, if you don't have this little guy up here, you're putting too much torque on those smaller knobs, and it's easy to kind of overdo it. So the handle makes it a lot easier to grab and make fine adjustments.
Right. So, Greg, I don't know what kind of camera you have, but I'm pasting some things in there. There's Novoflex. You want to do extreme? I'm going to read the question here. I'm trying to talk and type at the same time, and I can chew gum and speak at the same time, but not this. So, Greg says, I'd like to try extreme magnification. What gear would you recommend? I have a 100mm macro lens Canon. Okay, so You're going to need a focusing rack. I'm recommending the CASTEL-Q, and like Christian said, that handle, the cast fine handle, makes it even slower to turn the focusing rail. That handle is very helpful. And then the bellows is what you're absolutely going to need.
That's it.
And I'm going to find you the Canon link for that, or Martin will, and paste that in there. So there are Novoflex auto bellows for most modern cameras.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's that. If you happen to have, and if you're going the extreme route, then you're going to be using microscope objectives at that point. And I'm not an expert in that, but you'd be looking at the highest end of Novoflex at that point, which would be the Castel Micro. And you'd be getting like the Mitutoyo objectives at that point. They don't even call them lenses anymore. They're called objectives. So you'd be going to extreme magnification at that point. And there's other ways to go to that. Don Komarechka does that all the time. He's very good at it. I think our last webinar sort of covered some of that, and his book is very, very good at that. So we can find that information.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book.
How do you spell Don Komarechka? I'm gonna have to go copy and paste it for you, but you can check in our previous ones. Wait, we're both gonna hold it up. Oh, there it is. Hello, twinsies. Yeah. Yeah, that book is phenomenal. You see how thick it is? Did you see that?
It's huge. It's heavy.
It's a big book. Yeah.
Good Lord.
A lot of great information in Don's book. And more information is coming. So what else? There we go. Thank you, Martin. We will be publishing an exhaustive list of all the things that we mentioned during this for those of you who are curious about the objects that we used to do these things. I put that in the description of this webinar replay in both places, here on Big Marker and also on YouTube, and in the emails that go out too. For all of you who stayed with us this whole time, oh my gosh, you're amazing. We really love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And every time you come out, we really appreciate you.
All
Christian,
right.
you
Matt,
are amazing, brother.
My friend, thank you again for making my mind work in beautiful, magnificent ways. And thanks, Novoflex, for helping me create some of these images that I would never have had the ability to do on my own, for sure. So this has been a heck of a lot of fun. Now we have to come up with a new challenge there. What do you think that ought to be?
Well, I know that we're going to do it together. This is what we were talking about. We've been working on these challenges separately. I invited Christian to come up to Catskill and work with me in my studio. And we're going to work magic together on the next macro challenge. So if you guys want to give us ideas, feel free to either hit reply to the email or leave a comment. If you want us to tackle some crazy thing that you've been wondering how to do, let us know what it is. We're all ears.
We are. I'm looking forward to it.
That's my way of saying, Christian, I have no idea. But let's crowdsource it.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys are amazing. Christian, you're awesome. I love working with you, brother. And I look forward to next time.
Me too. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Have a wonderful day. I'm going to end the webinar now. And again, if you guys have questions, please hit reply to the email or leave comments, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye.